Hello, I'm Carl Yulin Helverson, and you are watching Living Green on a Blue Planet. This episode, we're going to focus on memories of the 2023 Parliament of the World's Religions held in Chicago. They have a number of tracks or foci, and the one we're going to talk about today is on Indigenous people. Now, Indigenous people for the Parliament doesn't mean just the inhabitants of Turtle Island or Central and South America, but in fact Indigenous people in Greenland, Siberia, Northern Europe, the Pacific, Africa. And so it's all these people who were there prior to colonization, who have lived on the land, have the wisdom and knowledge of management of the land, and are protectors of biodiversity, of the air, of the water, and of all the animals. And so I first became aware of this track in 2015 in Salt Lake City. And at that parliament, there was this grand procession. Just so many different First Nation peoples marching in first from Turtle Island, but then from all over the world. Prior to that, there was the lighting of the sacred fire outside. And again, it was the grandmothers who became very important. There were 13 great grandmothers of wisdom from around the world. There were all these different peoples who were lighting this fire to mark this event and to have us connected to the sky and to the earth. And that sacred fire is part of the parliament, of every parliament, but was particularly important in Chicago, and I attended those greeting the day ceremonies every morning before the parliament started. At that first parliament that I was at in Salt Lake City, that's where I met grandmother Mary Lyons, who I then met again in Chicago, and I met at the Protecting Mother Earth conference, and she's just this fountain of wisdom and caring for everybody. It's where I first met Rose, the elder from New Zealand, the Maori mother there, who taught me the breathing, the forehead and nose, so that I inhale your molecules, I exhale, you inhale my molecules. She explained that when they're doing their hakas or when they're doing singing or talking, and their hands are like this, is to indicate the vibrations of the universe, of the molecules, that we're all connected, all of us. But there are a number of other people I met that have influenced me and my work, but also have had an impact on subsequent parliaments. And those include Chief Looking Horse and Chief Oren Lyons. But also there was Arnold Thomas, who was the first First Nation chaplain. And he had us all rise, this is in Salt Lake City, and he ordained us to be missionaries to proclaim the love of our Mother Earth. And I remember taking it serious then and wondering if I would continue to take it serious. And I have to say, he's pretty effective because it stuck. So anyway, with this video, what you're going to be seeing is an interview with Louis Cardinal, who organized that big track in Salt Lake City, but has been to a number of different parliaments and is a board of the trustees member. You have an interview with him, and then you'll also see a cultural presentation by an Aborigine elder, cultural ambassador, Mogi. In between, you're going to see photographs or stills of a Amazon summit. This is a very special summit that was held in collaboration with the United Nations and the Parliament. You're also going to see stills of Indigenous people locally. So after the Parliament, my interest continued to grow, and so you're going to see that Indigenous people are not people of the past, that's part of it, but they're people of the now and the future. Okay, next you're going to see an interview with Lewis Cardinal. He is a Board of Trustees member. He is a chairperson of the track on Indigenous people around the world. He has a career of working as an educator and a coordinator with Indigenous people. That's the headquarters for that is located in Switzerland. But he's a Canadian, or he is a citizen of the Cree Woodland First Nation that is in Canada. And he's an organizer. He's a bridge builder. It's never a us and them type thing with him, but more of this is what we have to bring. And he's really clear that he doesn't want Indigenous culture to be limited to climate change or dancing. And he's involved with the arts. He's involved in intergenerational learning. He's involved in how do we use the resources of all of us, right? This is day 4 of the 2023 Parliament of the World's Religion held in Chicago. And there are a number of tracks that I've been interested in. One was obviously climate change and climate action. But the other one is just very related, the critical role of hearing, listening to, and respecting Indigenous people and having their involvement, their leadership in dealing with climate change. So with me today is...
My name is Lewis Cardinal, and I'm Woodland Cree from northern Alberta, the Great Boreal Forests of the North. I'm the chair of the Indigenous Task Force and trustee of the Parliament of the World's Religions.
And so, is this the first parliament you've been involved in?
No, the first parliament I went to was in 2009 in Melbourne. And then between 2009 and 2015, I joined the Parliament as a trustee and served for 6 years. So I organized the Indigenous program at Salt Lake City in 2015, and then organized the one in Toronto in 2018. And then I took a hiatus because you can only serve for 6 years, and then you need to rotate off. But then they asked me back if I would reprise my role as the chair and trustee for the Parliament.
Now, is this the only international organization that focuses on Indigenous people that you're involved in?
No. I'm with another organization called the Initiatives of Change, and within that organization, it's an international organization based out of Switzerland with chapters all over the world. I head up the Global Indigenous Dialogue, which is a part of IFC Canada. And what we do is that we bring the voice of Indigenous people into discussions and dialogues. Like here at the Parliament, a very important part of these discussions needs to include the Indigenous voice, because we do have wisdom, we do have knowledge, we do have a lot to say about the issues that are confronting us, not just climate, not just Mother Earth, but also everything else.
So you had a special program last night. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, it was an urgent plea, an urgent call from the spiritual leaders of the Amazon, with a number of different Indigenous nations, all collectively speaking together about the protection of the Amazon rainforest. And the reason why we put that program together last night is originally they were going to come here and do a large presentation to one of the plenaries. Unfortunately, they were not allowed to have visas to enter the United States, and this is from 5 different consulates in 5 different countries that have the Amazon basin in their nation states. So, I recommended that we do something else. I said, let's not lose the important message that they have, because I think it's a very important and timely message, considering what's happening to the rainforest, but also what's happening around the world to other forests and other places around the planet. So we put together the program that we then sent out camera people to the Indigenous spiritual leaders that were in those different countries to record their message and then to bring it out. And then so we were able to showcase what they had to say. And we did have a live feed it was open to the world. And we now have the recorded program that we'll now distribute far and wide, and it's an important and powerful message. We need to save the Amazon. It is pretty much the lungs of our planet, and it has a great effect on everyone.
Now, besides having important indigenous people from the Amazon there, you had a couple of dignitaries as well. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. One of the speakers is the newly appointed minister. There's an indigenous ministry in Brazil. Lula, the new president of Brazil, had created that office and appointed a woman to lead it, which I thought was really quite appropriate. A very powerful woman, so she spoke there. We also had other another governmental person that was here to speak to us as well. So, there are nations who really are taking this seriously, and then there's other nations who are not. But it was great to see that kind of support come out to hear the call and to respond to the call, the urgent situation in the Amazon.
I hear the word urgent multiple times. Is there reason to hope?
There's always reason to hope, because human beings created the situation that we're in, and then we can pull ourselves out. We have the capability of healing Mother Earth, and we've done it when we punched a hole in the sky with the ozone, and by reducing various chemicals we were using, the sky had repaired itself after a number of years. So that's just one evidence. But what's happening around the world when we look at the fires that are really raging out of control in many different countries, we know that we need to change our behavior, and that behavior isn't just how nation states create their economic processes and things, but it's how the individual changes their behavior. Because it really comes down to you, what you as an individual needs to do to change your consuming habits, and then how we do it locally. How do we change our communities to be more respectful, to live in balance and harmony within our communities? And it all adds up. If we're all doing that, then we are going to contribute to a much safer environment for us all.
Now, the track on Indigenous people, it wasn't all just climate change.
Yes.
There was also lots of celebration, dance, music, and the sacred fire every day.
Yes.
So for people who aren't at the Parliament, can you kind of describe what happens at the sacred fire that's attended by anyone who wants to be there?
That's right. The sacred fire, we wanted to have a sacred fire in the morning to greet the day. And actually, it's called a Greeting the Day ceremony. And within our Indigenous traditions, we tend to do that on a regular basis. As we greet the day provides us with a new opportunity to change things, a new opportunity to contribute to the good, and there's a thankfulness of that new day. And so what it does for the person is that it really puts you into the moment. It puts you into a connection with the great mystery, with God, with creation. And by doing that, you really start to feel more of that emotional and spiritual connection to the planet and to other people around.
So Lewis Cardinal worked with the United Nations to bring forth this summit on the Amazon. The Amazon basin is in crisis. There are fires, there's deforestation, the biodiversity is in danger. And it's important because the Amazon is the lungs of the earth. And so he had a number of dignitaries from countries in the Amazon basin come and speak on stage. But the fact is that there were 5 different nations that members could not get visas. And so camera crews were sent to the Amazon, and they were interviewed, and those interviews were then shown to the audience. And so it's pretty powerful. They were active. The members who were present were active all week. There is a part of the Parliament referred to as the Green Village, which is an area where people who are involved in climate change could meet regularly, and members of the Amazon teams were there as well. You're going to see a video of Elder Major Moogie Sumner. He's an Aboriginal elder and cultural ambassador and martial arts specialist. And what he did was a performance for the Sacred Music Night. But it's traditional dance, not dancing, but music making with the traditional instruments that he refers to as multi-purpose tools. And you'll see his dress stands out. This was a man who was extremely active throughout the Parliament. We were supposed to meet and I was supposed to get an interview with him, but every time I almost had him, he got pulled aside to another planning session. And so we're working at still trying to get an interview going. But he was at every Sacred Fire ceremony. He led one of them. He was seen as a spiritual leader, a cultural leader, and an expert on one of the oldest cultures of humanity.
What I have here is, you can call them multi-purpose tools. The hunting, for ceremony, for singing, even for dancing. We use these when we have our ceremony. We have another small thing for you.
Finally, as I said, you're going to see some stills of local examples of indigenous peoples. So you're going to see the Cherokee in North Carolina for the Protecting Mother Earth conference that was held this past year, 2024. And you're going to see the living village that is on Cherokee land as well, which is really pretty darn impressive. You're also going to see two scenes from Indigenous Peoples Day at the Edeljorg Museum of Native Americans in Indianapolis. And that's a pretty impressive museum. You're also going to see a couple of pictures of local Miami showing their teachings to others. And finally, you're going to see a singer from a festival in Fort Wayne called River Drums and doing traditional singing to a variety of different peoples. Thank you.